We often question the glamorous lives of influential people, but when the secrets they hide lead to a horrific tragedy, the exposed truth will send chills down your spine. Tiffany Wade, a young entrepreneur, mother of three, once celebrated as an icon of success and resilience. But few knew that behind her lavish empire was illicit money. Her husband, Armand Hilton, transferred to her before going to prison. When Armand returned, a single short response from Tiffany blurred the line between old love and enmity. And days later, she fell in a pool of blood. Everything seemed clear, but hidden behind it were secrets never before told. But what truly happened between them to ignite such a horrific crime? Was it just about money? Or was there a darker reason? Tiffany Wade, known as Nyla Amore on Instagram, was a symbol of success in Philadelphia. Born on June 17th in Coatesville to a devout Muslim family, she showed extraordinary determination by becoming a nurse at age 20, an achievement that made her parents proud. Not stopping there. With sharp business acumen, Tiffany built 3 unique enterprises: Kisses, Care Home Care, a home healthcare service; Kisses Amore Extensions, specializing in high-end hair extensions; and the boldest, Seasoned Kisses, a sex toy store. On social media, Tiffany's life was presented like an inspiring work of art. Chanel and Gucci handbags appeared frequently, alongside luxurious trips to London and Egypt. Each post was not just for show, but became a source of motivation for thousands of followers who saw in her an image of self-reliance and success. As a mother of 3, Tiffany raised her eldest daughter to be mature, a middle child, and her youngest, a 7-year-old son. But behind the glamorous facade was a shadow from her past. Armand Hilton, her ex-husband and the father of her youngest son. Armand, 44, from Chester, Pennsylvania, was no ordinary man. His extensive criminal record, kidnapping, armed robbery, firearms violations, made him a figure feared even by his associates. The relationship between Tiffany and Armand began with what seemed like a simple arrangement to avoid asset forfeiture from his illegal activities. Armand transferred them to Tiffany, who had a clean record. "When I get out, baby will be fine," he promised, and Tiffany agreed, not only for the sake of their son, but also due to cultural pressures in their community, where women were often expected to stand by their man. Yet time changed Tiffany in ways no one could have predicted. During the years Armand was in prison, Tiffany was not merely a placeholder for his assets. She transformed herself from a dependent woman into a successful entrepreneur. More importantly, she found herself. Those years of independence taught her she could live and succeed without anyone's help. She learned to make business decisions, manage employees, and build a client network. With each passing day, Tiffany grew more confident in her abilities, and the intention to return the assets to Armand faded. The day Armand Hilton walked out of prison, Philadelphia had no idea a storm had been unleashed. After years behind bars, he returned with the mindset of a man betrayed, stripped of what he believed was rightfully his. In his mind, the agreement with Tiffany remained intact. She was merely a temporary keeper of his assets, waiting for him to return and claim what was his. At first, Armand contacted Tiffany in a seemingly normal manner. He called, texted, and even expressed concern for their son. The initial conversations sounded like a father wanting to reconnect with his family after years apart. Armand asked about Tiffany's life, her businesses, and their son. "How are you doing? How's the business going?" he asked, his tone seemingly caring. Tiffany, though cautious, responded politely. She shared about the success of her businesses and the stable life she had built. But the more he listened, the more Armand realized Tiffany was no longer the woman he left behind. She had changed, becoming self-reliant and independent in a way he could not accept. During these conversations, Armand began mentioning their agreement. He spoke of reclaiming the assets and restarting their life together. But each time he brought it up, Tiffany's silences grew longer. She started avoiding him, giving excuses to delay in-person meetings. Then Armand discovered the truth he feared most: Tiffany had a new man in her life. Through social media and community rumors, he learned that Tiffany was not just a single mother focused on her career. She had opened her heart to a new relationship with a man Armand had never met but hated from the moment he learned of his existence. For Armand, this was not just personal betrayal, but a public humiliation. In his mind, Tiffany belonged to him not only because she was the mother of his son, but because he had invested in her. He had entrusted his assets to her, believing she would wait for him. And now, she had betrayed that trust. That's when Armand's true nature began to surface. His phone calls changed completely in tone. From caring questions, he shifted to accusations and threats. His voice grew cold and menacing as he spoke of his rights to Tiffany and the assets. "You think you can do this to me?" he asked, his tone no longer resembling that of a concerned father. "You think I sat in prison all those years so you could live a new life?" Tiffany tried to explain, to make him understand that she had changed, that she wanted to continue her independent life. But her explanations only fueled Armand's rage. In his mind, there was nothing to explain. There was an agreement, and Tiffany had violated it. When phone calls didn't yield the results he wanted, Armand turned to text messages. This was when his truly dangerous nature was fully revealed. The messages were not pleas or negotiations, but raw, violent threats. "You won't get out of Philly." He wrote in one message, "The kid is the only reason you're still alive." These were not empty threats. Armand knew their son was Tiffany's greatest vulnerability. He used the child as a bargaining chip to control her, reminding her that no matter how independent she tried to be, an invisible thread tied her to him. In other messages, Armand even referred to himself as a psycho. This wasn't a confession or a show of remorse, but a way to intimidate, to let Tiffany know he was capable of anything and unpredictable. He threatened to kill Tiffany's new man, describing in detail what he would do if he met him. He vowed to return to prison if she married someone else, as if incarceration was a small price to pay for punishing her. Faced with these threats, Tiffany grappled with a complex internal struggle. On one hand, she was afraid, and justifiably so. She knew Armand wasn't one to make idle threats. His criminal record proved he was capable and willing to commit violence. But on the other hand, the years of independence had changed Tiffany. She was no longer the easily intimidated woman she once was. She had built a career, confidence, and a support network. She resolved not to let Armand control her life anymore. The most significant decision Tiffany made was to publicly expose his threats on Instagram. This was a courageous move and a grave mistake. She took screenshots of the threatening messages and posted them on her profile, which had tens of thousands of followers. Tiffany's public disclosure served multiple purposes. First, it was a way to vent her frustration and anger at what Armand was doing. Second, she wanted to warn the community about the danger he posed. Third, she hoped the publicity would create social pressure to make him stop. But most importantly, she wanted to document the truth. Tiffany knew that if anything happened to her, these posts would serve as evidence of Armand's threats. The online community's response was overwhelming. Thousands supported Tiffany, urging her to report the threats to the police, move away, or seek protection. Many women shared similar stories of their own, creating a wave of solidarity around her. But the public disclosure also backfired. For Armand, each of Tiffany's posts was a public humiliation. He saw thousands supporting her, praising her as a strong woman, and this only fueled his rage. Despite living in fear, Tiffany maintained her image as a successful and strong woman on social media. She continued posting about new luxury purchases, trips, and business successes. These posts were not just for show, but a way to assert that she would not let Armand destroy the life she had built. In particular, she often shared profound life philosophies, inspirational quotes she believed in. One of the most memorable posts was, "Not every storm is a test from God. Some storms come from your choices." This quote was a warning not only for her readers, but for Tiffany herself. She recognized that some of her current struggles stemmed from past choices, but she also believed she could make new choices to change her future. For Armand, each of Tiffany's successful posts was a direct mockery. He saw her posting about expensive handbags, traveling, and being praised by thousands, and it convinced him she was using his money to live extravagantly. In his mind, Tiffany wasn't just someone who betrayed their agreement. She was a thief who had stolen his life. He believed all her successes were built on the foundation of the assets he had entrusted to her. Armand's anger didn't stop at a personal level. He began to see himself as a victim of societal injustice. In his mind, a black man like him was discriminated against by the system and imprisoned, while a black woman like Tiffany was celebrated and supported by society. As tensions escalated, those around Tiffany grew increasingly worried. Friends and family urged her to report Armand to the police or even leave Philadelphia for her safety. Some suggested hiring security or changing her address, but Tiffany rejected all these suggestions. Part of her didn't want Armand to win by forcing her to change her life. Part of her believed that publicizing the threats had created enough pressure to deter him. And part of her simply couldn't abandon everything she had built to flee. The decision to stay in Philadelphia would become Tiffany Wade's final, fateful choice. The storm she had foreshadowed in her Instagram post was approaching. And this time, it wasn't a test from God, but a direct consequence of past choices, both hers and Armand Hilton's. October 7th, 2023 began like any other day in Tiffany Wade's busy life. Her alarm clock rang at 7 a.m., and as was her daily routine, she woke up ready to tackle a new workday. Tiffany started the day with prayer, a habit she had maintained since childhood in her devout Muslim family. That morning's prayers felt especially fervent, as if some part of her subconscious sensed something unusual. Afterward, she brewed a strong cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened her phone to check orders for her hair extension business, Kisses Amore Extensions. Business was thriving. There were dozens of new orders overnight, and she spent time responding to customer inquiries, confirming delivery addresses, and updating order statuses. These tasks, though seemingly simple, required the precision and professionalism Tiffany had honed over the years. Breakfast was a warm family affair. Her 3 children gathered around their mother, sharing plans for the day. Her eldest daughter was preparing for school. The middle child had plans to meet friends, and her 7-year-old son was excited about an upcoming trip to the barbershop. At 1:15 p.m., Tiffany and her youngest son left the house, heading to Platinum Cuts Barbershop on the 2500 block of West Lehigh Avenue in North Philadelphia. This was a familiar barbershop where she often took her son, a place trusted and well regarded by the community. Platinum Cuts was located in a vibrant part of North Philadelphia, where daily community life unfolded with familiar sounds, chatter, laughter, and the hum of clippers. It was a safe, welcoming space where people came not only for haircuts, but to socialize and catch up on neighborhood news. When they entered the shop, Tiffany was greeted with friendly smiles. Her 7-year-old son eagerly ran to his usual barber chair. The barber, a middle-aged man familiar to both mother and son, welcomed them warmly and began draping a cape around the boy's shoulders. Tiffany sat in the waiting area, pulled out her phone, and continued working. She scrolled through customer messages, answered product questions, and updated order statuses. For her, this was an efficient use of time caring for her son while keeping her business running. The atmosphere around her was relaxed and familiar. the soft chatter of barbers, the laughter of other customers, and the sound of clippers created the signature soundtrack of a community barbershop. Her son sat obediently in the chair, occasionally joking with the barber about school. Tiffany glanced at her son through the mirror and smiled. These were ordinary but precious moments. She cherished time spent with her child in a safe, friendly environment. She snapped a few photos of her son, preparing to post them on Instagram to share this slice of everyday life with her followers. At 1:45 p.m., the bell above the door chimed. It was a familiar sound no one in the shop paid much attention to. Customers came and went throughout the day. But when Tiffany heard her name called, she looked up from her phone. Armand Hilton had entered the shop. There was no greeting, no conversation, no moment of hesitation. Months of threats, hateful messages, all had led to this moment. Armand had come with a single purpose, and nothing could stop him. 2 gunshots rang out in rapid succession, shattering the shop's every sound. The first hit Tiffany in the chest, the second in the head. The sound of gunfire in the confined space created a terrifying silence, broken only by the desperate screams of her 7-year-old son. "Mommy, Mommy." Tiffany Wade, the woman who built a business empire from nothing, a mother of 3, an icon of success and resilience, collapsed onto the barbershop floor. Her dreams, her plans for the future, her inspirational Instagram posts all ended in these horrific seconds. Armand Hilton turned and fled, leaving behind a 7-year-old boy who would carry this traumatic image for the rest of his life. Emergency medical personnel were called immediately, but it was too late. Despite being rushed to the hospital in critical condition, doctors could not save Tiffany. Her official time of death was recorded at 2:04 p.m. In less than 20 minutes, the life of a 33-year-old woman full of promise had ended. Her youngest son, who witnessed the entire tragedy, became an orphan of his mother in the most brutal circumstances imaginable. News of Tiffany Wade's death spread quickly across Philadelphia and social media. The woman who had inspired thousands with her success story had now become a victim of domestic violence, leaving behind a painful lesson about the cost of loving the wrong person. Within an hour of the murder, the scene at Platinum Cuts was fully cordoned off. The Philadelphia Police Department's investigative team arrived swiftly, led by Detective Raymond Martinez, a 20-year veteran with extensive experience handling serious crimes. Detective Martinez, 48, had investigated hundreds of violent cases in his career, but this one raised particular concerns. Not because of the brutality Philadelphia had seen too many similar tragedies, but because of the complex relationship between victim and perpetrator, as well as the public nature of the prior threats. We have a case with a clear suspect, a clear motive, and a child who witnessed it all, Martinez told his team. But that doesn't mean the arrest will be easy. Security cameras at the barbershop captured the entire incident clearly. The exact time was established at 1:47 p.m. Armand Hilton entered the shop, called Tiffany Wade's name, and fired 2 shots in rapid succession before fleeing. The entire event lasted less than 30 seconds. Forensic experts recovered 2 9mm shell casings at the scene. Initial analysis confirmed they were fired from the same gun, and the angle of the shots indicated the shooter was very close to the victim. This aligned with witness statements and security footage. However, the murder weapon was not found at the scene. Armand had taken the gun with him when he fled, indicating he was still armed and extremely dangerous. Witnesses at the barbershop, including the barber, a few other customers, and, crucially, Tiffany's son, all provided consistent accounts. All identified Armand Hilton as the perpetrator, though some didn't know his identity until police provided a photo. Identifying Armand Hilton as the primary suspect was straightforward. His extensive criminal record in the system provided ample information for the police. Kidnapping, armed robbery, firearms violations, and other charges marked him as a highly dangerous individual with a strong propensity for violence. Notably, Armand's history of domestic violence was also documented. There were at least 3 reports of him threatening and assaulting former partners, though none had led to significant prison time. This made investigators realize that Tiffany Wade's murder was not an impulsive act, but the escalation of a long-standing pattern of behavior. Within 24 hours of the crime, the Philadelphia Police Department issued an official warrant for Armand Hilton's arrest. The warrant was not only distributed to local law enforcement, but also publicized widely across media and social media. A $20,000 reward was offered for any information leading to Armand's arrest. While not a large sum compared to other cases, it was enough to draw community attention and encourage those with potential leads to come forward. Armand's image was distributed everywhere on public billboards, police websites, and especially on social media, where Tiffany's story already had a significant following. Given the severity of the crime and the possibility that Armand had fled Pennsylvania, the FBI joined the investigation. This elevated the case from a local matter to a federal manhunt. With greater resources and authority, Special Agent Sarah Collins, an expert in domestic violence and organized crime cases, was assigned to work alongside Detective Martinez. Their collaboration brought fresh perspectives and more advanced investigative techniques. Armand Hilton isn't a master criminal, but he's experienced at living in the shadows. Agent Collins analyzed. He knows how to avoid detection and may have planned his escape in advance. The hashtag Justice for Tiffany quickly went viral on social media platforms. Thousands shared Tiffany's photos, recounted memories of her, and demanded justice for her case. The power of social media in spreading information about the case became a valuable tool for the investigation. However, the community also became divided. One group praised Tiffany as a queen, a strong woman who built success from nothing and became a victim of domestic violence. They called for support for her family and information to apprehend Armand. But a smaller, yet vocal, group criticized Tiffany for keeping Armand's assets and provoking him through her social media posts. These opinions sparked heated debates, highlighting the complexity of how the community viewed the case. Street reports suggested Armand might be hiding in Chester or North Philadelphia areas he knew well. These neighborhoods had a complex network of abandoned apartments, warehouses, and hideouts that someone like Armand could exploit. There were also indications that Armand was using fake identity documents and being sheltered by local criminal networks. This was unsurprising given the extensive connections he had built over years of criminal activity. Police faced challenges coordinating across different jurisdictions. Philadelphia, Chester, and surrounding areas fell under separate authorities, requiring complex coordination among law enforcement agencies. Armand Hilton was not just an ordinary criminal, he had deep knowledge of Philadelphia's streets, having lived and operated in these areas for years. He knew the shortcuts, hideouts, and, most importantly, the people who could help him. His experience evading police in the past equipped him with the skills to avoid capture. He knew how to change his appearance, move without leaving a trace, and live in the city's shadows. This made the manhunt particularly challenging. Unlike amateur criminals who might make quick mistakes, Armand had the ability to stay on the run for an extended period if adequately supported. As days passed without a trace of Armand Hilton, the manhunt became a race against time. Each day he remained free was a day of danger for the community, and a day that justice for Tiffany Wade was delayed. Tiffany's 3 children quietly commemorate their mother's heavenly birthday each year in her memory. Her eldest daughter, with strength beyond her years, has taken on her mother's role in the family, caring for her siblings, and preserving Tiffany's legacy. In an emotional Instagram post, she wrote, "Happy birthday. Mommy, I've handled every special day like you taught me. We miss you so much, but your legacy will live forever." Tiffany's Instagram page remains active, with memories and graduation photos posted by her daughter. Each post continues to attract thousands of interactions, proving that her influence remains strong. The case exposed serious flaws in the system for protecting women. Threats were dismissed until it was too late. It raises painful questions. How many women are living in similar fear? Should Tiffany have left Philadelphia, abandoning everything she built, or return the assets to avoid violence? These questions have no simple answers, but they reflect the harsh realities many women face. Armand remains at large, and justice is still waiting. The 7-year-old son who witnessed the entire tragedy must live with lifelong psychological trauma. Tiffany Wade's story is a warning about domestic violence and the importance of protecting women. Her legacy lives on in those she inspired and serves as a reminder that no one should have to choose between safety and freedom.